Vanity installation, usually a really straightforward project to install, and what's really great, it's usually the last thing to be done on your bathroom renovation. But I want to go over some tips that will help you out installing vanities and also some mistakes to avoid. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I really see most people having mistakes with is actually choosing the vanity for their space, making sure that it's not too big for the space. A lot of the things when you're shopping online end up looking a lot smaller than they are in reality. So one thing you want to pay attention to is your distances from your other plumbing fixtures. So for instance, a toilet, you want to be a minimum from the center of your toilet 15 inches to the edge of your vanity. So if you're going to be crowding that, you want to go with a smaller vanity. And mainly that's primarily for elbow room and using that fixture. So you want to be a minimum of 15 inches. Anything more than that is just even better. The second thing that I see with ordering vanities is a lot of them online are all freestanding type of vanities. So you can see how the legs of this kind of curve out and create like a furniture looking type of aspect to this. One big problem with that though is if you're going to try to place this into the corner, it's going to leave a big gap right against your wall. So some people can deal with that, others think that that doesn't look right. So pay attention to the type of vanity you're installing. If you're going into the corner of a room, you might want to get a cabinet that has straight legs or something that can go all the way straight to the corner. So when it comes to ordering, a lot of times it's usually more cost effective to get one that already has a top with it. So pay attention to the center holes for your vanity. Most of them that come in a prepackaged deal like this usually are 8-inch centers, meaning 8 inches from one handle to the other. So you want to pay attention and make sure you get a faucet that is going to have an 8-inch center spread on it. Now it all depends on the top that you actually purchase. Some of them come with just single holes, some of them are 4-inch centers. So pay attention to that so that you can order the right materials. Now, when it comes to replacing an existing vanity, usually the valves that you have in your existing vanity are probably going to leak. So expect that if you're going to take on this project. I would recommend to replace the valves for your vanity, because even if it's been a couple years or 3 or 4 years since things have been changed, most of the time they're corroded and they just don't turn off, they end up leaking. So you want to shut off the main water at your meter and then replace the valves. This has drawers in it, as you can see. This is a very popular, really effective way to store all your products, but you have to pay attention to where your existing plumbing is, because a lot of times this might not work with a cabinet. Now this particular cabinet is really nice. You can see this huge wide opening for the sink bowl and the connect my trap. So this is actually a really user-friendly type, but if I had any type of plumbing coming up through the floor, it could potentially hinder my shelving and in the height of my drain. I usually do recommend, if you're going to be able to set them, is to set them between 19 and 21 inches off the floor. A lot of the newer vanities now are 34.5 inches tall, making the whole cabinet 36 inches tall. So a lot of your older plumbing might be down to 18 inches or even 16 inches off the floor, which could be a problem with the trap on some of these sliding doors. So pay attention to the specs of your vanity and make sure it's going to fit your existing plumbing, or at least be aware that you're going to have to change some of that stuff around. All right, so this vanity, again, is really simple because of the opening that it has for my sink, but also there's no backing on it. If you have some backing on the back of your cabinet, I would advise making sure that everything sits level and then marking the back of the cabinet with some paint so that you can establish where your pipes are coming out and cut some nice holes. Now, when you're cutting those holes, you want to make sure that you're only pilot drilling through the back and then doing the finish cut from the inside of the cabinet so you don't splinter the back panel of your cabinet. All right, so in this particular situation, we have, so our mirror is 24, so we want to center things with the mirror, centering off of that. Now we're going to be just drilling right into the tile. 1/4 inch bit. So if you didn't have tile like this to just use plug anchors, you can use a stud finder on your drywall and find the studs and actually pre-drill this and install it. So something else that really helps out is to install this before we actually adhere our top to the base. Rather than having to crawl underneath and connect everything, it's easier to do it above. The faucet that we're installing here is called Yusuf. It's a pretty nice faucet. It has the brushed gold, which is very popular these days, pop-up drain. So pretty simple to install. I like the pop-up drains a lot because you don't have the mechanism, the trip lever that is always kind of problematic. A lot of times you see them leaking, and this is just a single step type of process. So it makes it a lot easier. Got our brushed gold faucet, and then most of these are now coming with their own supply lines, which is also nice. Just one less thing that you have to buy. And our handles are already attached to our supply lines, which is nice. And obviously they have cold and hot, hot on your left, cold on your right. Before we tighten these all the way, basically just want to make sure that the handles, when they turn off, okay, so the screw adapters here, these are nice because they really tighten it. You don't have to be relying completely on the threading of your nut here. You can just tighten it with the screw, really secures it a lot better. Faucet. Okay, before we tighten that, just make sure that this is where we want it. Okay. Pop-up drain. This is nice because it has a little rubber gasket already incorporated on it, so you just have to slide it in and connect the drain. Rubber gasket. Beveled edge goes towards the sink. Hand tighten. This guy, these just clip right in, so you'll hear a little snap. This connects all of our water supplies. Really nothing to it, pretty easy. Now I can just connect this straight to our valve once I get this installed. So let's just dry fit this, make sure this looks right before we put some silicone on the Vanity. Oh, it swivels, that's nice.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah, I kind of like that. All right, so just to adhere the top, we're just going to use some clear silicone. And that'll adhere well to the bottom of the sink. Connect our supply lines here. I have a feeling I might be a little bit off on where my plumbing has to be. So let's just test this to see if they're just going to work with our trap. It will work. Okay, great. I always had a plan B, which was using a 22.5 degree elbow, just in case I had a feeling I was a little bit off. So I wanted to make sure that I could get it over there. So if you had that problem, you could just angle it over a little bit so that you can connect this. But this is going to work line up here without any stress on my piping. That's the biggest thing. You don't want to be putting a lot of pressure one way or the other. It needs to be centered. So if you need to bring something over to take the stress off of your plumbing, then that'd be the way to do it. With your P-trap, so with this connected, slide this into your adapter, mark this, and then it's going to be fine in this adapter, but you really only want to bring this in about couple inches into your actual fitting, because the main reason is you don't want the main back of the drain closing up and causing clogs. So mark it where it goes into your adapter and just cut a couple inches back from there. This is a nice tool for that. This is a rigid cutter, but it's just a tubing cutter. It makes nice, cuts like that. So this wedge is facing down into your fitting. Filling this up and allowing that to fill up and then drain it. Now you got that filled up, drain it, make sure that everything is leak free, and we're good to go.
What did you do?
It's gonna hit that. It's gonna hit that, isn't it? You son of a gun. 21 inches is a better way to go here. Well, dang it, there's nothing I can do about that. I just made the common mistake. And I'm trying to help you avoid. So we gotta cut this out here. I'm gonna try to make this look like it was meant to be. Okay, so I made one of the mistakes that I was hoping for you to avoid, but that's what happens with these cabinet type of drawer based type of vanities. You really have to be particular where your plumbing is, and if you don't have this ordered or spec'd ahead of time, it's something like that's going to happen. So what I should have done is made the port or my adapter at 21 inches, and I would have cleared that bottom shelf. Okay, so as far as caulking goes, we're going to use the matching caulking as our tile. So 100% silicone is usually the best way to go. Okay, then a little Windex, and I'll prevent it from smearing on the tile and the vanity. So I hope those tips helped you out and you didn't make the mistake that I was trying to help you avoid. Give me a like on this video. It definitely helps get this out to more people. Subscribe if you haven't, because I have a lot more great content coming out on this bathroom specifically.